back when gospel music was sacred and hymns were special in their own right. Featuring powerful lyrics and unwavering messages of faith, certain groups stood out due to their musical excellence, longevity, and influence on both gospel and mainstream music. Here are some of the groups that have left a lasting impact and opened doors in the gospel music genre. The Five Blind Boys of Alabama. It's almost unbelievable that a group of blind Black American singers who started out touring during a time of whites-only bathrooms, restaurants, and hotels would go on to win 5 Grammy Awards, a Lifetime Achievement Grammy, and be inducted into the Gospel Music Hall of Fame. They also had the honor of performing at the White House for 3 different presidents. Since the original members first sang together as kids at the Alabama Institute for the Negro Blind in the late 1930s, the band has persevered through 7 decades to become one of the most recognized and decorated music groups in the world. Fisk Jubilee Singers. The original Jubilee Singers introduced so-called slave songs to the world in 1871 and were instrumental in preserving the unique American musical tradition known today as Negro spirituals. They broke racial barriers in the United States and abroad, even entertaining kings and queens in Europe in the late 19th century. In July 2007, the Fisk Jubilee Singers embarked on a sacred journey to Ghana at the invitation of the U.S. Embassy. In 2008, they received the National Medal of Arts, the nation's highest honor for artists and patrons of the arts. The award was presented by President George W. Bush and First Lady Laura Bush during a ceremony at the White House. The Soul Stirrers. This group launched the career of legendary soul singer Sam Cooke, but they were much more than that. The Soul Stirrers set the pace for gospel and pop vocal groups, playing a crucial role as forefathers in the development of rhythm and blues. They also took gospel music beyond local churches and introduced it to a national audience. The Soul Stirrers radically reshaped traditional gospel material and wrote many enduring songs of their own. Their music represented a progression from Jubilee singing to a more rhythmic style, serving as a foundation for doo-wop and R&B. The group reached peak popularity when Cooke, with his irresistible voice and magnetic personality, was part of the lineup. The Caravans. From the late 1950s to the mid-1960s, the Caravans were unrivaled as the nation's most popular touring gospel group, earning acclaim as one of the greatest acts ever to emerge in spiritual music. Their fluctuating roster eventually included future superstars Shirley Caesar, Inez Andrews, Bessie Griffin, and Reverend James Cleveland. The Caravans were formed in Chicago in 1952 by Albertina Walker, who remained the group's constant presence despite frequent lineup changes. By the mid-1950s, the Caravans had become one of the most popular acts in gospel music, with a powerhouse combination featuring the young soprano Phenom Caesar and the dynamic contralto Andrews. The Dixie Hummingbirds. A pioneering force behind the evolution of the modern gospel quartet sound, the Dixie Hummingbirds were among the longest-lived and most successful groups of their era. Renowned for their imaginative arrangements, progressive harmonies, and all-around versatility, they earned almost universal recognition as the greatest Southern gospel quartet of their generation. Formed in Greenville, South Carolina in the late 1930s, the Dixie Hummingbirds began as a Jubilee-style act. Their lasting appeal was evident decades later when, in 1973, they backed Paul Simon on his pop hit, Loves Me Like a Rock. In 1978, Ebony magazine named them the world's greatest gospel group, the Mighty Clouds of Joy. Founded by Willie Joe Ligon in Troy, Alabama, this group was among the first gospel ensembles to incorporate R&B elements such as drums and stylized choreography. Known as the Temptations of Gospel, the Mighty Clouds of Joy, like their Motown counterparts, exhibited a sophisticated, masculine style. In addition to preaching, they brought innovation to their dramatic stage performances. Sporting bright, color-coordinated suits and pompadour haircuts, the group electrified audiences with moral tales encouraging people to strengthen their faith. Their exuberant inventiveness alienated some conservative gospel listeners, but they believed that by entering the commercial market, they could reach a broader audience, especially young people in underserved communities who needed to hear the gospel's message. Over their 40-year career, the group recorded more than 30 albums. The Staple Singers. one of the greatest R&B groups of all time, or one of the greatest gospel groups? We say both. Last week, the Staple Singers appeared on our 12 of the greatest soul groups list, and they're back again this week. There has to be a place on our list for a group called God's Greatest Hitmakers. Regarding their crossover from pure gospel to folk and soul-flavored material, a source of controversy within the religious community, patriarch Roebuck Pop Staples told Essence magazine, "We've always tried to make affirmative, happy music that makes a positive point. Our aim is to get across a message while we're entertaining people." The Winans, brothers Marvin, Carvin, Ronald and Michael, were 4 of 10 children born to David Pops and Dolores Mum Winans in Detroit, Michigan. Raised in a strict but loving Christian environment, the brothers grew up singing in gospel choirs before deciding to form a professional quartet. The Winans were pioneers in contemporary gospel, modernizing the sound and style of traditional black gospel vocal groups for the urban contemporary era. For the Winans, performing was a family affair. Their parents recorded together as Mum and Pop Winans, and other spin-off acts included Daniel Winans, Vicky Winans, brother-sister duo BB and Cece, and the youngest siblings, Angie and Debbie. Even the third generation joined in with Winans Phase 2, composed of the sons of the original group members. The Clark sisters. The Clark sisters, Jackie Clark Chisholm, Elbenita Twinkie Clark Terrell, Dorinda Clark Cole and Karen Clark Sheard, are the daughters of legendary gospel musician and choral director Dr. Mattie Moss Clark. Credited with bringing gospel music to the mainstream, they are considered pioneers of contemporary gospel. Their biggest crossover hits include Is My Living in Vain, Hallelujah, He Gave Me Nothing to Lose, Endow Me, Jesus is a Love Song, Pure Gold, Expect a Miracle, and of course their gold-certified crossover hit, You Brought the Sunshine. With 16 albums and millions in sales, the Clark sisters are the highest-selling female gospel group in history. Take 6. The most Grammy-nominated group in gospel history got its start at Oakwood College, now Oakwood University, a Seventh-day Adventist university in Huntsville, Alabama. In 1980, when Claude McKnight, older brother of R&B musician Brian McKnight, was a freshman, he formed an a cappella quartet named Alliance. However, after discovering that the name was already in use, the group rebranded as Take 6. Over the years, Take 6 has performed on Saturday Night Live, at the Oscars and the Grammys, and for 4 sitting US presidents. Golden Gate Quartet. Speaking of presidents, the Golden Gate Quartet sang at President Franklin Delano Roosevelt's 1941 inauguration, becoming the first black musical group to perform at Constitution Hall. They later went on to perform several times at the White House. Originally founded as the Golden Gate Jubilee Singers in 1934 by 4 students at Booker T. Washington College in Norfolk, Virginia, the group started as a traditional Jubilee quartet. They combined the intricate arrangements of barbershop quartets with rhythms borrowed from the blues and jazz-like scat singing. However, after World War II, they lost their preeminent position in gospel music as they faced competition from newer hard gospel quartets such as the Dixie Hummingbirds and the Soul Stirrers.